How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today's video is about that when people start thinking it's not going to happen to me, right? The consequences of me and doing what I'm doing is not going to happen to me because I'm different, right? I'm special. I do things in a different way than other people. But in terms of alcohol drinking, there are so many different problems that happen because to an individual, on an individual basis, because of drinking. There's over 200 medical conditions caused by drinking alcohol. There's 3.5 million people every single year die from the consequences of drinking alcohol. And that's the ones that can be directly attributable to alcohol. Think about this in terms of when somebody dies from a gunshot wound, right? Bullet to the head, let's say, right? You don't need to be a genius, right? The gurney comes into the coroner's office, and the coroner comes out and he goes, what's the cause of death here? Well, he's had his head blown off, right? Oftentimes there is no clear distinction of what has killed a person, right? It could be the cigarettes, it could be the alcohol, it could be the other drugs that somebody's taking. It could be a whole lot of different factors, when I was drinking alcohol, I was smoking, I was eating a lot of bad food. So you're talking about the intake of shit into my body was causing a general deterioration of everything, right? Inside and outside. Have you ever seen a 60-year-old smoker that smoked a lot of cigarettes over their lives? You can tell, right? Just by surface. Their skin looks weird, the voice sounds weird. The skin is all cracked up and wrinkled and grey looking. If somebody is abusing themselves with McDonald's hamburgers for 10 years, you can tell, right? It's completely obvious, right, that this person is overeating. They're ballooned out. They weigh more than they should do, and it's wearing the heart on the sleeve sort of thing. With alcohol, there's a lot of outward signs that somebody is doing damage to themselves, but a lot of the stuff is on the inside. You have to have been drinking a lot for a long time in order for those internal signs and symptoms to be showing on the outside. So, I always say that if a person could take out the liver and wear it like a handbag on the outside of their skin, right, they would see the damage that's being caused. If they compare their unhealthy liver to a normal liver, somebody who's not abusing themselves, then it's they'd know the difference, right? So anyone that's got any condition and died through any condition, anyone that's got a condition and is just suffering through it, right? Like I say, when I'm talking about 3.5 million deaths a year, these are deaths that are preventable. Not in the long term, we're all going down the same road. But in terms of, the amount of time that goes between, this just early deaths, people shouldn't be dying this early because of these things. But I'm not just talking about that, When you're talking about a death happening because of alcohol, because of cigarettes, because of bad diets and all that kind of stuff, it's not as if you live a healthy life up until that final day and all of a sudden you just get ill, right? I mean, it could happen like that. You could have just a heart attack and you're taken out of it, bang, you're gone, right? But in general, and even for those people who have heart attacks, it's not going to happen like that, It's going to be a gradual downhill slope, gradual downhill slide, I should say, where you're gradually getting worse and worse and worse. You don't feel it so much because you're getting worse, and it's only when you stop doing what you're doing and start to reverse things that you understand how much that slide how far down that slide you were actually going, you know. So for me, it's all about quality of life, not quantity of life. I know I'm going to live a better quality of life. I'm not guaranteed any quantity of life, because, did I say that right? Yeah, I know I'm guaranteed the quality of life, right, because of the stuff that I'm choosing to do now, right? I'm not drinking anymore, I don't smoke anymore. I'm very careful about what I put into my mouth, food-wise. And I've no guarantee about the quantity of life, right? I mean, like I say, I could go back to the car today, I could be driving home, and a truck could come around the corner and wipe me out in a second, right? That can happen to any of us, right? I could catch some rare disease, and that could wipe me out. So, you know, there's no guarantee for quantity of life for anyone, right? How many years you're going to live. But everyone knows about, you know, when you're a drinker, everyone knows about the liver damage and all these other things that can happen because of your alcohol drinking. And you see it time and time again. You see it in the people around you. You know, you don't generally see, you know, the day-to-day stuff that's going on, but everyone knows somebody who's suffered from this or that, and everyone knows somebody who's died earlier than they should have because of their lifestyle choices. We always think it's not going to happen to us, right? Well, you know, let's say eventually it is going to happen. You know, the more shit that you do to yourself, the more likelihood is that something bad is going to happen at the end of the day. That, you know, I talk about the discomfort of quitting now, right? And getting past that discomfort and going forwards and saying to yourself, well, I can put up with a month of discomfort, 2 months of discomfort, in order to get out the other end and to feel like I'm human again, to feel like I'm achieving something again, right? You know, how many people can actually say that in terms of, you know, when you're drinking, you're still going down that slope. The further down that slope goes, the more discomfort you're going to feel. You know, I mean, cirrhosis of the liver is not it's not a condition which is nice to go through, right? Alcoholic cardiomyopathy, where you have your heart muscles can no longer hold themselves together, and your heart begins to sag, and the more it sags, the less power it's got as a muscle, right? So your heart is something that is pumping and pumping and pumping all the time. Your liver is something which is filtering and filtering and filtering all the time. You know, all your organs in your body never get a break. They just are going through the same thing over and over again. Now, when you abuse yourself, right, with cigarettes, alcohol, any other drugs, with food, when you don't get enough exercise, you're doing damage to yourself, which is affecting the overall function of your whole body, right? You know, not just the external stuff and what you can see, but the internal stuff, right? The stuff that really matters, the stuff that's keeping you alive. And the more damage these things get, the less comfort you're going to have in your life, the less things you're going to be able to do in your life. You know, your brain, the less things you're going to be able to think, you know, to do, because your brain is also suffering, you know, the major organ. Your brain takes 20% of the nutrition that you put into your body. It also takes a lot of the blood and the oxygen that goes in. It also takes a lot of the damage when you're putting the toxins into your body, right? So just think about that for a minute, thinking, you know, these things are not going to happen to you. Well, you know, I'm afraid they are, you know. The more you drink, the more you put these things off, right, the less likelihood is that you're going to get out of this without a lot of discomfort at the end of the day and an early death, right? So I'll leave you with that message for today. You know, these kind of things generally don't help to stop people from drinking alcohol, right, to change people's minds and stuff when you point out the downside of what they're doing, you know, the health consequences. Because what they generally do is they force people into sort of trying to shut off the supply of negativity by going back to the one thing that is causing them the damage in the first place, right? Whether it's the alcohol or whether it's any other drug, right? But, you know, it's something that I keep harping on about because it's something that is real. This is, you know, if you carry on down the road that you're going on down, if you've got if you're putting this stuff into your body, it's not doing you any good. I don't care who tells you that there's benefits to drinking alcohol. There isn't, right? There is only a negative consequences to long-term alcohol drinking, and there is short-term consequences. It's like short-term pain, but you get a lot of long-term gain, right? Like I say, we're all heading down the same path. You know, we're all going to end up in the same spot at the end of the day. You know, with a 6 foot by 3 foot grave, or pushed into a fire. You know, it's just the way it is. But at the end of the day, what you want is to live your life to the fullest, right? And what most people think, or a lot of people think, is that living their lives to the fullest means smoking and drinking and, you know, being outrageous, you know, and doing outrageous things and stuff like that. It's not, because that's short-lived, short-term gain for long-term pain. And the only way you can avoid that is by a young death, you know. As they say in, what was it, The Highlander, it's better to burn in hell than to fade away. Well, I don't think so. I think it's better to enjoy life. You know, the changes that you can make, they're painful to make in the beginning because they're just not inside your normal way of thinking, right? But once you do make these changes, they can happen. They can make such a radical influence on your life. They can make such radical improvements in your life, you know. So think about it. If you need any help at all, come on over to alcoholmastery.com. We've got a few different courses over there that are absolutely free. Put your name, email address in the box that you'll see there on the front page, alcoholmastery.com. And we've also got some paid courses. I've got some coaching there as well, and we've got a program called the Mastermind Coaching Program. We've got a forum and lots of different videos, and we've got round tables where we take a discussion once a month and discuss that. You know, a lot of it's to do with alcohol, a lot of it's to do with other changes, you know, habit changes in general, that kind of thing, you know. So it's really good. I'm loving doing this, spending a lot of my time in there. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care of yourself, onwards and upwards. Take care. Bye bye now.